When we talk about area, what we're referring to is the extent of a two-dimensional surface. In other words, it's a measurement of how much space a flat surface covers. So to define area units, we're going to start with a square, like the one on the left here, that's 1 unit on a side. Now, in this case, a unit can refer to any linear measurement. It could be feet, yards, kilometers. They all work the same way. So then we're going to define the area of this unit square to be 1 square unit, or 1 unit squared. It's the squared part, or the 2 in the exponent, that should immediately let you know that we're talking about an area measurement here rather than a linear one. So once we've got this kind of base shape, we can define the area of larger shapes to be the number of unit squares that it takes to cover it. So the area of this rectangle to the right here would be 48 square units, since it takes 48 unit squares to fill it in. So what do you do if you can't cover a shape with an even number of squares? Or say if the object doesn't have all these neat right angles that squares can fit into? Well, that's a great question that we're going to think about more in the next chapter when we talk about geometry. So to convert between US or imperial units, we're going to need conversion factors just like we had with linear units. And this is an area where students often run into trouble. They mistakenly think that linear conversion factors also work for area measurements. For example, that 1 square foot is 12 square inches because 1 foot is 12 inches. Now you can see from my diagram here that this definitely isn't the case. We've already used up 12 of our unit squares just covering the bottom border. We'll need 11 more to cover the right-hand border for a total of 12 on that edge, which should point you to how many we're going to need altogether. Since 12 times 12 is 144, that will be the number of square inches in 1 square foot. So I've got some conversion factors for us here on the right, starting off with the one we just talked about, right? 1 square foot is 144 square inches. What I want you to notice for the first three is that this is kind of paralleling the definitions that we had for linear units. With linear units, we had feet and inches. Now I've got square feet and square inches. With linear units, we had miles and feet. Now I've got square miles and square feet. Yards were equated to feet, and now I've got square yards to square feet. And then I've got this last one here. We kind of go off on a tangent with acres. An acre is a measurement that isn't tied directly to a corresponding linear measurement like the previous ones were. And the US and imperial systems are full of these kind of, they're almost specialty units. Right? They only see used in specific circumstances today. Acres, for example, are used to define the size of plots of land, like the house lots. And square yards, you see that used in fabric store, maybe even your local hobby store up the street. The lengths of cloth are sold in square yards. Okay, so before we jump in over here and start looking at some specific examples of these conversions, I do want to point something out to you here. All right, some of the you can confirm here, and that you can also confirm with your students. Remember that when we calculated square feet to square inches on the last side, we ended up with a box square that was 12 units by 12 units. So the conversion factor here ended up being 12 squared. And remember when we talked about miles, there were 5,280 feet in a mile. And you can check me on this. 5,280 squared is 27,878,400. And it's a little more obvious down here with the next one. Remember, 1 yard was 3 feet, and 3 squared is 9. Right? So you do see this pattern repeating here. Okay, so let's jump in and take a look at my example here. I want to know how many square feet there are in 300 square inches. Remember how dimensional analysis works. I'm going to start with 300 square inches, and I know where I want to end up. I want to end up with square feet, so that goes on the top, and I want to get rid of the square inches, so that goes on the bottom. Now, look at our conversion factor. 1 square feet is 144 square inches. Now go to your calculator, the square inches cancel. 300 divided by 144 is 2.083, and the only units that are left are square feet, which is what we wanted. Okay, so my next one here, right, I got a couple more for us. How many square feet are there in 5 square miles? Same process. I'm going to start with 5 square miles, and I want to get rid of the square miles and get square feet. Probably gonna regret not leaving a little more space there. So look at our conversion factors. There's 1 square mile in 27,878,400 square feet. Feet are pretty small, at least relative to a mile, right? So yeah, it's not surprising that number is pretty huge. Now you go to your calculator again. The square miles cancel. All this left is square feet, and 5 times that really big number. Make sure I get this right. 139,392 followed by 3 zeros. We put some commas in here. 139,392,000 square feet. Okay, so I got one more here. How many square miles are there in 1 acre? Well, I don't have a path that takes me directly from acres to square feet. So this is going to be one of these multi-step ones, right? When I'm looking at these, kind of highlight what you know, right? I know acres, and I want square miles. Now I know the two that I have to plot a path between, right? So I know how to convert acres to square feet. And then if I jump up to here, I can convert square feet into square miles, and that's what I need to do. That's what I want to end up with. All right, so let's write this out. I've got 1 acre, and that is 43,500 square feet. And now I want to get rid of the square feet, so the big number is going to go on the bottom. 27,878,400 square feet, and that is 1 square mile. So the acres cancel, the square feet cancel. We're left with, for the calculator, 43,500 divided by that 27 million number, and that's going to give you 0.00156 square miles. So not a lot. Right? 1 acre is not a whole lot of square miles. So what's next? We're going to continue the pattern that we did when we talked about linear measurements. Right? We talked about the U.S. and Imperial systems first. Then we talked about metric systems, and that's what we're going to do next here as well.